Hey there, welcome back to my channel and today's video where I'm doing this eyeshadow look using a BYOP palette that I created duping out a new release. So if you're interested in seeing any of that, then, don't go anywhere. Today I'm going to be using, again, my BYOP. This is a palette that I built out to kind of dupe the vibes or the color story of the Cosmic Beauty The Lovers palette. Now, if you watched my last uploaded video talking about some new palettes in my collection and updating on this, I show you the first and now second iterations of this color story because I got some new singles in my collection and I thought that I could get some better matches to the inspiration picture. Again, this and this are not nearly close enough. In the original palette, this is actually a sage matte, but I didn't have any pastel mattes. So I went with yellow because I thought that it gave me the same depth as the sage, different color, but it's a color that seems to work with everything else. And then this one right here is still too mid-tone leaning, and it's also a little bit too periwinkle leaning for the original, which is a light blue matte. So besides that, I think I'm pretty close. I did make a couple of changes, but I think that this is a reasonable representation of that palette, and I'm going to play with it today. I'm not sure what I want to do. Initially, I was thinking I would combine these two, but I think I might have used that and this green shimmer the first time I used this palette. I don't remember. So maybe I'll go for like a blue look today. I know I haven't really used the blues. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll sort of stay in this area over here and use that yellow as a nice inner corner pop. That would be fun. I do love a bright inner corner pop. Anyway, I'm going to prime my eyes with the Glamlight Icing Primer, and everything I'm using is linked in the description box. I do have a palette pull-in today as well. I'm working through the Pretty Chic palette from Colored Rain. I am using these shades in consecutive order. It's a little side project I have, and this is my last one. I think that if I end up going at the more blue route, I could easily incorporate that into today's look. So I'm probably going to plan on that, and then I get to draw a new palette for my palette pull-in, so that'll be fun. Of course, my little empty palette doesn't have a mirror, so I have to hold this up. I'm hoping it's not going to screw up your lighting. We'll see. That has been the case once or twice, and it's basically destroyed the whole filming results, so I hope that's not the case. I'm taking this dark blue matte in the palette. In today's video, because I'm duping out another palette, I'll just put a picture of whichever shadow I'm using. If you have the Lovers palette, you can follow along. If you don't want to dupe it out, whatever you want. I'm just going to show you what shade I'm using. So this is the dark blue, and I think I'll start that over here. I feel like I've been a little sporadic lately with filming. You know, part of it has been that my husband had some days off work and it really kind of messed with my routine. Do you ever notice that if your significant other is home for a few days, your whole system, your whole routine and rhythm of daily life kind of gets interrupted? Like, oh, you checked the mail, or wait, this thing that I do at this time, now you're sitting in my spot, or you want me to take a break for lunch, things like that, you know? So I didn't film quite as regularly last week because my husband had a few days off, and that really, it skewed the rhythm of the household for the day. Now I'm going to take the light blue matte and soften this edge. Anyway, so I kind of feel like I'm a little off my game lately, and there's been a bit of there must have been a slowdown on my channel because I've been posting 4 videos a week for like 3 years. And there must have been a little bit of a gap because one of my subscribers messaged me on Instagram and was like, hey, I noticed you're a little quiet on YouTube. I hope everything's all right with you. It was so nice of her to reach out, but I didn't realize that it was perceptible to you guys. Like you had noticed that I wasn't uploading as consistently for a little while. And when I say a little while, I literally mean like a week or a week and a half. I guess there's just been a general slowdown in my life, and I definitely noticed it because I used to try to film every day, and that would result in like 4 weekly uploads, and I would get a little ahead of myself, and that didn't happen very much this month. So anyway, that's okay. It's just how it goes. This shadow that I'm using right here is actually ColourPop. This is from the At Forest Sight palette. It's the shade PNW, I think. I never knew what P&W meant until my sister moved to the Pacific Northwest. And I was like, oh. Now I'm going to take this black and deepen a little bit more. Do you have the original of this palette? Do you have the Lovers from Cosmic Beauty? And if so, you have to tell us in the comments what you think about it. Do you have any other Cosmic palettes that you can compare the quality? Does it feel like the same quality? Does it feel like the same packaging? When I saw that they had released it and it was a vertical format, I was like, oh, that's different. But then I think maybe Carrie K compared it to all their other 20 pans. She was like, no, it's not a different size. It's just oriented vertically instead of horizontally. And that was, funnily enough to visually throw me off and make me think that it was actually somehow different. I am picking up this light yellow matte, which is not in the original. Again, this is my version of the green. So you won't be able to completely copy this, but I'm gonna use this because I think it's a nice addition to the palette actually. And I'll be using this in my inner corner, obviously. You could definitely do this step with the Sage Matte. It's not gonna contrast as much, but it would still work fine. It would just be a bit different. Or if you wanted to stick with all blues, you could then take the light blue matte that we used out here and just carry it fully through to the inner corner. But I actually really like that yellow. Is this ColourPop? I think it is. Yeah, it's ColourPop called You're a Vision. It might be from their Aura and Out palette. It's not the best pastel matte. It's kind of patchy. And as many pastels are, the more you blend it, the more patchy it gets. So instead of moving it around, I'm really just sticking it in place, like tapping and then lifting. That's what I'm doing to try to get it to blend nicely. That's good though. I'm also going to take that same color and carry it down here. This may not be the best brush, especially because I'm tapping and not dragging. I probably should have a brush that's a little bit more fine. Yeah, we'll leave it out there. And now let's lay down some shimmer. I mainly want to play with this blue shimmer in my palette. In mine, it's from Ensley Rain. The shade is Frozen Aura, but it's kind of a bluey purple. So I'm going to put that on the center of the lid and most of the lid space, but not all the way to the inner corner. Now I'm gonna grab this yellowy orangey shimmer here. Mine I think it's from the Unearthly Lore palette. And again, if you were doing this with the Sage Green Matte instead, you might want to pick up this shimmer up here instead of this one, but this is what I'm using. I actually really like that yellow matte as an addition to the palette. With this color story, there was a ton of kick up. ColourPop. With this pastel ColourPop. With this color story, we've got a dark green matte, a mid-tone green matte, and then there's Sage Matte. We have 3 different layers basically of a green. I don't know that that's necessary. I think the yellow brings a nice color complement to the greens, and it works with the greens, obviously. It also works with the blues as a green matte would, but also it works more nicely with this this brown and these more burgundy tones, or the more neutral tones, even the more neutrally pinks up here. So I think the yellow is a nice addition. I'm going back into my small brush with no new product. This is the one I used for the black. I just want to tap that shimmer just where it meets the matte to make sure everything is soft. Yep, and that's it. That's the look. I'll do the other side and be right back. So I realized that I totally forgot to finish the lower lash line. Out here, I started by putting the 2 blues, the dark and the light blue matte. And then I remembered my palette pull-in. So I did end up taking a little bit of the purple and putting it also on top of the outer third of the lower lash line. And I actually think it's really pretty the way it all kind of tied together. That's it for the eyes, except for a waterline. I put this color from ColourPop. It's the shade Toucan Do It. It's a beautiful, vibrant gold. That's my waterline. I do have some mascara on. And then for my lips, I'm wearing the Glow Reviver lip oil from e.l.f. shade Jam Session. I have a little bit of blush from the Spring Magic palette from Unearthly. I dipped into this one, but I think that what was left on my brush was quite a red shade, so my cheeks are more red than I expected. These are pretty much all hard pan. It's okay for me for blush because I use so little I would rather that it be something I need to work out a little and build up rather than going in and getting a huge payoff, which ends up feeling too heavy for me. So this palette is fully hard pan. I can still work with it, so it doesn't bother me too much, and I got it for $5, or $8, so it really doesn't bother me. I wanted to use this one, but I think I ended up getting something more red because of what was like some residue that was already on my brush. And then for a highlighter, maybe you can see that sort of a blue purple, these two from the Roar Glow kit from Anastasia Beverly Hills. And that's it for today's look. I think it's pretty. You know, it's interesting to me how much I'm enjoying this yellow matte, because I put it in this palette because I wasn't able to get the right color, and yet I'm actually really enjoying it. And I think that it's even possibly a better change to the palette, a better addition than the green that was already there. The green felt very expected, and the yellow feels just a tiny bit less expected and also will help tie into the other shades. So I'm really happy with that yellow being in the palette, and I love what it did for today's look, which initially I was thinking was just going to be more blue heavy, but then I brought in the yellow, and that let me play with the more neutral yellowy orangey shimmer, again with the contrast and the differences, and I think it's pretty. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course, and do let me know in the comments if you have the original and if you're having fun playing with it. Let me know if you want to see anything particular. I do take subscriber requests, and check my description box for a Cosmic Brushes playlist. I'm going to include this in my Cosmic Beauty and Cosmic Brushes playlist because it's inspired by their color story. So if you're following along, you can find all of my Cosmic Brushes playlists, videos rather, in that playlist, and also maybe get some ideas for the Lovers palette. So thank you so much for being here tonight. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and you would consider liking and subscribing before you go if you want to see more content like this. I do tend to upload several videos a week, and I look forward to seeing you in my next one. Bye.